Hi, we're going to talk about Linux here, user and groups here. We know that basically you can have two different kinds of user. One is a super user, administrator. One is normal user. And then you can have user, that's you and your group, and other people that's other than you and the groups in the system here. Remember that make directory here, change mode here, chmod. Then they have parameter here, option, or whatever you want to call, to set up who can read, write, execute. So that's your user here. So that's the basic understanding about users and groups for Linux. Understanding your account here. And for learning the Unix here, you have administrator account, username and password. You also have just a normal user account here. So we're going to see here, this is that username and password, as I mentioned to you. It's long time ago, they so decided username and password, still username and password here. And UID here, your UID number here, user identification number, account, GID, group ID, user ID, group ID. Yeah, like a long time ago, about 30 years ago, I worked for NEC. That's like a Japanese company like AT&T here. And the computer we use is Linux. I only have keyboard and monitor. I don't have a system box here. So all the information are stored under the Linux here server. So I need to know I'm a user. I have a group of people. That's my group, and also everyone. That's about 500 people here in the company here, all the Linux user. So I need to know. For instance, my resume, I would make it only me, user, can read, write, and execute. That's not really something to execute. That's for a program. You can run the program here. You cannot run your resume. It's just a Word file here. I'm sorry, just a Linux file here, text file here. So, and something I need to share with my group members here. I need to change mode here to let my groups can see it, can read, can write, and can execute for a program. And something here, if I want everyone under the Linux system here, that's like 500 people working for the company here to know, then I need to change to that one to for everyone here. So that's the basic idea. Linux here is very powerful. Say, if I want to share my info with my group here, it's very easy. I just change mode here, change just one command that make the change here, nothing else here. As I mentioned before, Linux is very powerful and can do a lot of damage here if you don't use it right here. For instance, your resume, you don't set up for user, that's you only. You set it up by mistake to like the company here. Then everybody can read your resume. That's not what you're trying to store a resume for everybody to read here. Nope, that's not an idea. So that's Linux. And they have a command field here, home directory here. Yeah. And the directory is upside down tree here. It's very organized here. You have user, you have command file, files here, application files here, and shell. We talk about what's it, shell command. What is the shell here? That's important portion of that's a shell script here, like bash here. Under the bash bin, bash here. So the directory, they are all very important concept. Username and password here. The username and password here is basically here, everybody have your own username and password. And I don't remember I need to change the password to make it more secure. I need to make a very fancy password. No, I don't. Linux have much less hackers attacked here. So we don't really doing that kind of password change here. So, and they show you the last password change here. So you would know last password, what was your last password, what is your current password here, and date until a change is allowed here. This is actually based on the administrator. If the sole administrator decided they want you to change your password like every month, then you have to. So day before a change is required here, something like that. Day of warning before your password expire here. That's very cool here. Day between expiration and deactivation here. They're going to deactivate your password. Yeah, that's password protection here to make it more secure here. And if you left the company, administrator will going to reset your password here. Actually, or just block your username password here, and then you cannot use it anymore. You can remote log into the Linux system from home, from anywhere here. That's Linux here. And expiration date here, they show you when it will be expired here. Special flag here. Flag here to show you something you need to pay attention to. You see here from -1 to 9999 typically indicate that relevant feature has been disabled, enabled, disabled. That's based on what's the default. You're not sure about certain command. You need to type in man, M-A-N, and something. For instance, here they type in etc shadow file here for permission here. See here, read write here 600. Read write here. That's read and write here, and nobody else can do it here. So this is, if you say, yeah, this is what you can do here. And where comes to this 6 here? The read, write, execute. Execute is 1, 2, 4. So 4, 2, that's 6. And that's read, write, execute, read, write, execute here, 0, 0. So you can type in change mode, space, RW or dash. Then, or another way to type is just change mode 600. Then we'll do that here. See here, another one here, they say that, okay, I can read and write, my group can read, any people can read 644, right? So if you can read and write, see here, they don't really use 9 here because this is not a command file. There's no reason for you to have anything set here. Say, yeah, you can run the text file. The text file is nothing to run here. So that one is really for executable. For instance, if you have a command file here, you want everyone in the company who can do it. So what kind of number you need to give? 999. You set up RWX, 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 or you just give 999. Because RWX, that X is 1, W is 2 here, R is 4 here. So that's here. So you have your 999 here. So that's how you want to set up here. Okay. So that's here. No, it's 777 here because 1, 2, 4 or 777 is not 999. Sorry. Yeah, my bad here. So that's yeah, you type in the 777 here or that kind of stuff that will work here. So identify account here, your username, password here, based on your account here. Typically, you have a normal user account. You are administrator. You're going to have a super account here. Let's see a little bit about the command here. They can show us to type in some kind of command. See if that help us to learn.
What's going on, guys? Exciting video, thrilling video, I would say. It could be the greatest video you'll ever see. This is about administrating users on Linux. So we'll talk about what exactly makes up a user, and we'll talk about what commands you generally will run to administer users. So creating, deleting, locking user accounts, unlocking them. But first, I kind of want to talk about what really makes up a user on the file system in Linux. So there's 3 files that we'll really be looking at. First, become root. It's going to make this whole process a lot simpler. Good. 3 files that we're looking at, and we'll just tail them. etc password. This is not misspelled, by the way. So etc password, and you can see there's actually, this is just the end. I'm running Ubuntu here, and these are the only 2 actual user accounts that have like a home directory and like a real user, human user behind them. So the rest of these are all service accounts that basically aren't allowed to log in or simply are designed to run like one kind of process to sort of isolate them for security reasons. So you can see there's a couple of fields here. I think it's 7 fields that a user has. So if we take my user, the user I'm logged in as right now, the first field is the username. So that would be the name I log in with. The X is in place of the password. This used to be the password. Now that has been shuffled over to etc shadow, where the encrypted password, the hashed password lives. This is the user ID. This is the default group ID. So when I execute some process, you can see like these are the default sort of permissions it runs with as my user, as my ID. This is just the friendly human readable version of this. This is the geckos information, so sort of human readable information about my user. This would be first name, last name, a phone number, office, blah, blah, blah. This is the kind of thing that maybe be interesting if you're running LDAP. Home directory, you can see these are all separated by colons. Home directory, so home Dave. And by default, when you add a new user, that will be /home/username. And then the last field here is the default shell. So there's lots of different shells. As you can see, some of these other service accounts, like the VirtualBox editions, this is a virtual machine, so I added these. This thing doesn't get to log in and do anything on the file system. So this is really there for running a process and nothing else. So bin false, no login, bin or sbin, no login. These are ways of preventing that someone who takes control of a process, or the process itself, the code that's taking control of it, can really do anything on your file system. So these things are designed to run services like SSH it's a user, it can open, sockets and TCP sockets, so network, but it's not going to be like CDing anywhere on the shell and, deleting files or moving stuff around. So there you go. No login. And that also means that if someone compromises your SSH service, they are going to have a tougher time messing with the rest of your system. Good, so that's etc password. Let's see what etc shadow looks like, because this is sort of pointing over there, because there's no password here. You might also notice, I'd like to say this as just an aside, the tremendous amount of, this is just tailing it, so if we actually just cat etc password, it's huge. It's like, if we, there's like 39 users defined here, right? So it's huge, and only 2 of those are users that I created. One is the default user that was created with the install, and then there's another one that I created for LXC. All the rest of these are services that are running. And this is also one of the sort of reasons for example, if you see someone using any kind of virtualization, containerization technology, like maybe Docker, developers use this a lot. They'll develop on this machine, and then they just sort of take the whole thing and like push it online. And if they're using a default Ubuntu install, even the server install is running a little bit more than I would like. Printing libraries, right? Color management, window manager, audio. So you can see actually the only users that I've added, service users and normal users, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 since I installed this. But there's almost 40 here. So all these things mean, basically, in some form or another, many of them mean security holes. So be very careful when you use containerization technology and like just do a default install without trimming down some of these services and users and then pushing it online, because it's a million open doors for a bad guy to walk into. Okay, that being said, now that you've gotten a taste of my boundless paranoia, let's look at shadow. And we should see basically for the same users, you can see here, service users and real users here. So username is the first field. It's the same colon-separated list of values. After that, we've got the hashed password. So this is salted and hashed. It's not actually encrypting the password, so you couldn't perform some calculation on this to reverse it. This is simply hashed. If you don't know the difference, look it up. It's kind of interesting. These are all password fields. So like date that the password was set, I think, date that it expires, I'm not sure. Maybe this is date that it expires, and time after expiration that it is still valid. So like after this password expires in 100,000 minus 1 days, I have a week to change it. So let me know in I don't know how many years that is. Like 100, simpler than etc password. There's another place where things get written. And generally, each user, when you create them, has a group as well. So we can look in etc group as well. You can see as a user's created a corresponding group is created as well. And you can see there are some members of a group are defined at the end. So scanner, group ID, and then members of that group. So you can see Dave is a member of like Samba. Actually, if we just less this up. So who's part of ADM? Well, the group ID is 4. Dave is part of this and syslog, this syslog user. There's one thing I'd like to mention in etc shadow, and that is this is a user with a real password who can log in, depending on their login shell and etc password file that we saw first. This user cannot log in. So this means it's basically a placeholder for saying there's no password for this. You can't type in a password and log in as this user. If we just less this file, I want to show you so you can see for root what that looks like, because Debian in general doesn't allow you to log in as the root user. You generally can only access root through sudo. So this exclamation point, in addition to this, is a way of disabling login. So even if you have a user that has a password, you can disable it by simply going in here and sticking a exclamation mark in front of the password. So like here on the Dave user, if I wanted to lock this account, I just put an exclamation mark before the $sign. You can do this with some commands too, and I'm going to go through the commands with you now. So basic commands for doing all the stuff that we just.
Yeah, this is a very good video talking about user. You see that they're talking about password here, when it will be expired, and so on and so forth. So it's a very, very good info here. And that's what I would like to share you this time here.